Welcome to Researchers Zukan. My name is Etsuko Osada. Today we have Will Tayler, who comes from London. Nice to meet you, Will.
Nice to meet you too.
He married a Japanese girl, and he has lived in Japan for a long time, more than 6 years. He can spend a happy days for many years, but surprisingly, you don't speak Japanese. The person who stay in a foreign country and still can spend a happy days. The reason comes from your research topics. Will, would you tell us about your research?
Yeah, sure. So I have a proposition that people who don't fit into the local society can be still successful in their lives. So now we live in a period of globalization in the world, and it is considered by many politicians and academics throughout the world that immigrants should integrate fully into their host societies in order to be successful and to contribute fully to the local society. I disagree with this proposition, and I will prove why I think this is wrong. Okay, so firstly, I want to talk about Indian people who moved to London and UK many years ago after the Second World War. These people faced a lot of discrimination and prejudice when they first came to UK because they looked different, they spoke a different language, they wore different clothes, they had totally different customs. For example, they had arranged marriages and still do, and they believe in sex and no sex before marriage, etc., etc., which is completely different to the native white people in the UK. But despite all these differences, and despite all the prejudice against them, they are now, Indian people are now the most successful ethnic group in the UK. And you can check this out on government websites and many statistics, and you'll find that the Indians have higher income per individual than any other ethnic group in the UK.
I hear that for the first time. Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah. And the Indians have been very influential on UK culture, including food. So as you know, fish and chips is very famous in the UK. But the reality is Indian curry is more popular amongst native British people than fish and chips. So you see the big influence Indians have on British culture. Yeah. So Indians have been very successful despite being completely different to the native people. So that's one example. Another example I'd like to talk about is Billy Elliot. Billy Elliot is a famous musical in London and New York. And this musical is about a boy who became a ballet dancer in the north of England in the 1980s. This was a time of where the coal miners were going on strike, and many coal mines were being closed by the government. It was a fairly unpleasant time to be in the north of England. It was a macho culture, and boys who liked ballet were considered to be gay and not liked by the local community. And so Billy Elliot faced a lot of prejudice and discrimination, and had a fairly bad time there. But he got through it, and he became a famous ballet dancer in the end, very successful and extremely well off. And in the end, he ended up keeping his own family, including his father, because of the money he earned from ballet dancing. So this is an example of people, the Indians and people like Billy Elliot, not fitting in completely to local society, but being very successful. And in fact, talking about Billy Elliot, if he wasn't different, if he followed what his family did, like his father and his brother, he would have ended up unemployed, like the rest of the miners in the area.
Oh, I see.
Now, talking about myself, I live in Japan, as you know, and of course, I look different to local people. I speak differently. I have different customs. And like the Indians, and like Billy Elliot, I follow some of the customs, but I don't follow all. But like the Indians and Billy Elliot, I respect the local community very much. And I feel I have a positive contribution to make to the local community. And I'm very happy in Japan.
What contribution do you
Yeah,
give
yeah.
to
So
local people?
yeah.